I want to thank Mary Ruth Organics for sponsoring today's video. More on them a little bit later. We are actually getting ready to go on a little family trip. It's just for a few days, but in order to make the trip more fun, budget friendly, all of those things, I'm doing a little bit of preparing before we go. And I'm going to make today some bread and some bagels. Anytime we go on a trip, I typically like to stay in an Airbnb or a VRBO where I have a kitchen. But on this particular trip, we are going to be staying in a hotel because the hotel we're staying at has a big water park in it, and that is the attraction that we are going for. And since we're going to be in a hotel without a kitchen, I didn't want to have to bring the kids out for every single meal. Like I said, one, it definitely saves money not having to go out to eat every meal. But two, with a lot of little kids, it's not very fun to go out to eat all the time. And so for this particular trip, I am making 2 different types of bagels that we will have for breakfast. So I'm just going to pack a toaster so I can toast bagels in the hotel room. And then I'm also making a loaf of Dutch oven cheese bread. And I'm also going to be roasting up a ham so then we can do some ham sandwiches as well. As you guys will see, this is a very busy day in the kitchen. This is actually an afternoon. My littles were napping, but then they ended up waking up before I was done, and it was a really nice day outside. So my husband took the kids outside, and I continued to bake just so I could get everything done. The recipes that I am making today are on our cast iron skillet cooking blog, so I will link those for you guys down below. The first thing I did was ground up some flour with my wheat mill. If you guys saw a couple videos ago, I took out my dishwasher and added a little curtain where the dishwasher used to be, and now I am storing all of my bulk grains and my wheat mill right there in the kitchen. I used to have it in the basement, and it is so convenient with it being right in the kitchen. I find that I'm using it way more often and loving that I don't have to haul the flour up and down the stairs. So started off by grinding up the wheat, and now I am mixing together some like flour and water and yeast, and going to let this first dough rise while I start working on the second. Like I said, I am making 3 different types of baked goods today, 2 different types of bagels, and then a type of bread. And I was trying to think of easy things that we could do without any type of kitchen. So the hotel room that we're staying in does have a mini fridge, and so I knew that I would be able to put my ham in there. I had a big ham in the freezer, and I'm defrosting that, and I'm going to bake that, and I'll be able to just make some sandwiches with that. And then I also thought I could bring some cream cheese and some sausage patties that we could warm up in the microwave in the room, and then we could have like either like bagel and cream cheese or a sausage and cheese bagel sandwich. My kids are all really big eaters and definitely like when they have protein in the morning. It seems to keep them fuller longer, and since we are going to be spending a lot of time swimming at the water park, I knew I'd have to have something that really was filling them up. And so I decided to add some whole milk yogurt that I had made into the bagels, plus the sausage and cream cheese that I thought that would be a little more filling of a meal for them. I love traveling and going on vacation. My husband is definitely more of a homebody. He is very introverted and I am very extroverted. So naturally, he likes staying home more often and I like to go. And so we find an even balance and do a little bit of both, obviously. But with the kids, it's always fun to make memories and take them to see different parts of the country and just do little fun things that they'll remember when they are older. But whenever you have a large family, sometimes traveling can be, even if you don't have a large family, just traveling in general can be very expensive. And so we try to find different deals and maybe travel in off seasons in order to get like a better price on a place to stay. And then making some of our own food is definitely a way to save money, because I find that whenever you eat out every meal, that can become one of the biggest expenses when you are traveling. So just thinking and preparing a little bit ahead of time can help cut down the cost, and then also can make the trip more enjoyable if you can do some of the things before you go, so then you don't have as much to cook or to prepare when you're on the trip. You guys may notice that I'm using a paintbrush to put my egg wash on my bagels. I could not find our little normal brush that I use for this, so I found a paintbrush that was unused. It worked just fine, but already did get a new one since this video, because I don't know how creative an idea it is to use a paintbrush on this, but anyway, did the job. So these are my yogurt bagels, and I topped them with the everything but the bagel seasoning. And now I'm just going to bake these, and with all the recipes that I'm making today, whenever I am finished, I'm going to let them cool, and then I'm going to store them in Ziploc bags so they're ready to go. I want to take a quick break from cooking in the kitchen to tell you about today's video sponsor, Mary Ruth's Organic. I have been using Mary Ruth Organic products for over a decade in my home. Me, my husband, and all of my kids have been using the probiotics for as long as I could remember. So whenever they reached out to me, I was so excited. This is a product that I love and have been using for so long in my home. All of my babies are born with thrush. I mean, I guess they're not born with it, but within a couple of days after giving birth, they get thrush. So I'm sure it's some type of bacterial problem with me, but regardless, my midwives have always suggested Mary Ruth Organics liquid probiotics, and so I started using those on my babies when I had my first one, and have used them for all of my babies since. I love them because it is super easy to give to the baby, and I know it's made with clean and natural ingredients. Now, more recently, my family has started taking the Mary Ruth Organic multivitamin, and we all love that as well. Mary Ruth's Organic multivitamin is nutrient packed and gives me energy and helps me focus throughout my day. It is packed with vitamins and minerals that support the immune system, improves digestion, and can even help clear your skin. It has multiple essential vitamins, including antioxidants and vitamins C, D, and E. Now, you can take the liquid multivitamin just plain, or I went on to the Mary Ruth's Organic website and found several different recipes to different mocktails, and I have been enjoying those as well. So in the morning, I like to make this after I eat my breakfast, and I'm using some lemon seltzer water and my raspberry multivitamin, and then I like to add in some fresh lemon juice, and it is so delicious. All of my kids try to drink my drink. I'm like, hey, this is mine. But good thing is they all like it just plain. I mean, I like it plain too. It's actually very, very tasty. But if I want to make it a little bit more of a treat, I will make one of their mocktails. And I like to add in some type of frozen fruit, depending on what I have. I have tried it with cherries, strawberries, and raspberries. All of it is very good and it's very refreshing. If you are ready to shop Mary Ruth's Organics, you can use my code to get 20% off on the Mary Ruth Organic website or on Amazon. This offer will work for new or existing customers. For this trip, like I said, we're just going for 2 nights, and so I had to make enough for 2 breakfasts, and then I am doing 3 lunches because on the first day we're going to be getting to the area around noon, so I thought we would go to a park and eat lunch before heading over to the hotel for swimming. So I knew I needed 3 lunches, 2 breakfasts, and then we're just planning on going out to eat or ordering some food or just making do for the 2 dinners because I did not have a large space for storage with the mini fridge or any type of oven or anything. I wasn't really sure what we could do for dinner. And our family does enjoy going out. All of our kids do like going out to eat, so it is something that we do often. It's just want to be something that we wanted to do for every single meal. While my first set of bagels are baking and my bread dough is rising, I'm getting started on my 3rd recipe for today, which is an onion bagel. Now I thought these would be good with some ham if we wanted to make these into sandwiches because I wasn't sure if 1 loaf of bread was going to be enough for our lunches, so I was making a few extra bagels I thought we could also make sandwiches on. A couple of my kids prefer meat without bread, and so because not all of us are bread eaters, I thought maybe like 1 loaf would do with this amount of bagels. So I'm going to make 16 bagels, and then I did find at the store some pre-made sausage patties that can just be warmed up in the microwave. I've never really buy things like this, so I wasn't sure if it was actually a thing, but when I went to the store I did find some. So normally I just make my own sausage patty out of pork that I get from my sister's farm, but again I didn't have any way of cooking those up once I got there, and so I went with some like pre-cooked sausages that just had it to be warmed up, and then we were able to use that to make some breakfast sandwiches in the mornings for breakfast. Whenever we are traveling and I'm thinking of different foods to make, to prepare, to bring, I like to think of things that I don't always do to still make it a little special, because I know eating like special things on vacation are kind of fun. Then we also did get some snacks for the road, and then while we were there we let the kids get ice cream. So I don't necessarily do all of this just so that we have all the health benefits of it, because I do let them splurge, but I do enjoy just, having something prepared as the mom and, the one that's in charge of every single meal. It takes some stress off of me to have an idea of what we're going to be eating and, how we're going to be eating it, because I know that is something that would just kind of like fall on me when we got there. And so not complaining, I definitely enjoy making food for my family, but thinking ahead will make it a easier and better vacation for me. While my doughs are rising, I'm also going to be shredding up a bunch of cheddar cheese, because like I said, I'm going to be putting cheese inside of this other loaf. We love making cheese bread. This is so good. It's so easy to make, and it's really delicious on its own, and it also makes some really good sandwich bread. see my door to my sunroom is open when I'm baking on this day. It is so warm for this time of year where I live. It's been a very, very mild winter. In fact, whenever we booked this little vacation with a water park indoors, I was like, oh, this will be like a perfect thing for the kids to do since they're going to be like all cooped up inside all winter long. And it's turning out that while we are there, the temperatures are going to feel like practically like summer. I mean, we have one of the days while we are there is going to be in the 80s, and on the other days they're going to be in the 70s. And so I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're going to have to be inside while it's so nice and warm. So we did find some parks that were close to the hotel that we were staying at, and we ate all of our meals outside, which was really nice because that's another thing. When you stay in a hotel, you don't necessarily have any tables or chairs or anywhere to sit, and with little ones you can get very messy in your room. And so it was nice that we were able to eat all of our meals outside even though it was still in the winter. For this cheese bread, I'm just using a block of cheddar cheese. Everyone in my family likes sharp cheddar cheese, so it is sharp cheese, but you could really use any kind that you prefer. And anytime I am making bread in my Dutch oven, I like to preheat the oven to a really high temperature and preheat the Dutch oven as well. That really helps the bread to get nice and crusty on the outside, and it is so delicious. It's some of my favorite bread to make. Okay, so while that's baking, I am now shaping my next set of bagels, and this is the last thing on my list. I told you guys it was going to be a big baking day, but I was really glad to be able to get this all done in just one day, and then everything was able to cool so I could pack it. This was actually a couple days before we left, so I did end up putting the bagels in a Ziploc bag and freezing them just to make sure that they were nice and fresh whenever it was time to actually eat these. I'm going to bring some water to a boil, and I add in a little bit of sugar and baking soda, and I will boil the bagels for about a minute on each side, and then I will put them in my cast iron skillet to bake them. I get a lot of comments about why I have so many different Dutch ovens and cast iron skillets, and here you go, guys. This is your reason why. I oftentimes have a lot of different pans in use at one time. In fact, on this particular day, I was like running out of pans to use and having to wash things in order to start the next batch. But like I said, I'm kind of minimal on the amount of things that I have in my kitchen, and so the things that I know that I use a lot of, I make sure to have plenty of them, and cast iron is one of those things that we just enjoy cooking on cast iron. It's a really easy way for me to cook, and I find it to be one of the healthiest ways because it's a natural way to have a non-stick pan. So the seasoning that's on top of these bagels is just some minced onions. Now it's funny because I wasn't sure about like how many to make of each and what people prefer, but it ended up that half of the family preferred the yogurt bagels and the other half preferred the onion bagels. So we had the perfect amount that we needed. In fact, we ended up eating every last bit of the food that I packed on our vacation. This is like something that I'm kind of known for. I tend to do really well at planning food and having the perfect amount, and it's like a game to me, and I really enjoy when I get it right, because it's kind of fun to be like, yeah, like I thought about that, but then you can't like know exactly who's gonna eat what and when, and it was just like the right amount. And so anytime I do that, I'll brag on myself for quite some time, like, hey, remember that time when we went to this place and I packed the exact amount right of food? Anyway, okay, so now I am starting my ham. This is actually the next day, and like I said, this is a big old ham, and so the lid didn't fit on my Dutch oven, so I'm just covering it with some aluminum foil, and I am just baking this in the oven on low for several hours, and then you'll see when it's finished. My husband's actually slicing this up. 2 reasons. One, I was not home when it was finished. We have fish fries going on in our area right now for the Lent season, and my kids are obsessed with fried fish, so we try to go to as many of them as we can, and this was on a Friday evening, so I took most of the kids. I think he only stayed home with the baby, and I met my sister and we went to the fish fry. So the ham finished whenever I was on home. And then 2, I am horrible at cutting up meat and carving meat. I think I'm just too, like, I don't care enough, and I just start like dicing and slicing, and my husband would be like, don't you see that you went like with the grain? You're supposed to go against the grain. I'm like, I don't even see the grain. So like, anyway, he's just kind of the better chopper of meat. And so I asked him when it was done and cooled if he didn't mind slicing it up. So now this clip here is much later in the evening. We're back home from the fish fry. The ham is cooled down, and I am putting it into a bag and I'm putting it in the refrigerator so that it is ready to go whenever we leave for vacation. I'm using a second bag to put all of the little ham scraps in, and then I'm also going to put the ham bone and any extra liquid that was in the Dutch oven, and I will use this to make a ham and potato or ham and bean soup someday. I don't know exactly when, but I will definitely save this. Ham broth is so delicious, and there will still be quite a bit of meat on here once I boil this and make some broth with it. So the one bag for the trip for the sandwiches is going in the refrigerator, and the other bag is going to go into the freezer, and like I said, I'll be making a big pot of ham and potato soup probably in the near future. So now I am getting packed for our trip. Now I am an extremely light packer, and so I'm actually packing for myself and my husband and all of my boys, and this will all go into one duffel bag, including diapers and wipes. And again, this is kind of like a game to me. I like to see like how small amount of things I can pack. I don't know why, it's just always a thing. I don't like to overpack, and I know that they're going to be wearing their swimsuits majority of the time, so I'm just grabbing an outfit or 2 per kid plus a swimming suit, and then obviously they'll have what they wear. And so I am doing all of us. My daughter likes to pack herself. She's old enough to know what she needs. She's very organized, and so I let her do that, whereas I just kind of like take over and do all of the boys. And I do find that packing light, I mean, obviously you don't want to not have what you need, but getting just everything that you need really does help to cut down on stress whenever you are going on a trip. There's no need to pack everything but the kitchen sink. I don't like to have to think about putting it all back away when I get home. So I just grab what we need, and I promise this was more than enough. We all had plenty of clothes. No one ran out. In fact, I think we even had some like extra things that we didn't even use. Another way to pack light is that I'm going to make all of my kids wear a pair of like sandals. These are actually Keens that will work for running and playing at the park. Also will work whenever they are at the pool, and they will just wear them on the trip so I don't have to think about packing any extra shoes. Now, this is actually the morning that we are getting ready to leave, and I am filling up water bottles for everyone. Whenever you travel anywhere with kids, even if it's just out for the day, I find that like half the battle is figuring out where we're going to get drinks and where we're going to go potty. It's like a constant thing. Someone's thirsty and someone has to go to the bathroom. And so one thing I have learned is having everybody their own water bottle and then just having to fill those up. It makes it to where you have less waste, because I find that if we have a bunch of like disposable bottles, people don't know whose are whose. You end up losing them. No one drinks them all the way. And so having your own water bottle is something that I do. So we actually ended up putting those just straight in the car at their cup holders. And so everyone was responsible for their own water bottle. And now I'm packing my cooler. Now it's just a very small cooler because like I said, we won't have much space when we're there. But I have my ham, some cheese, lettuce, and tomatoes for my sandwiches, some cream cheese for the bagels, and then I also got some grapes and strawberries to go along with our lunches. And last of all, my biggest tip when traveling with kids is making everybody go to the bathroom before you get on the road, because for sure, as soon as you get in the car, someone's going to say they have to go to the bathroom. All right, so we arrived about 10 minutes from our hotel. We found a really nice big park. And so I am going to be making some sandwiches, and we're eating lunch here at the park. Now you're going to notice this is a different loaf of bread. We ended up eating almost all of that cheese bread before we even left. That was the only problem with making things early. So I made a quick loaf of sandwich bread to pack for the trip. And so I will link that recipe for you guys down in the description box as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I get out a new video every single week.